Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're not new, welcome back. So today I'm going to be teaching you how to draft a corset pattern, how to cut a corset top. Now you minus your shoulder. Let's just go right into it without wasting much of a time. Please, if you've not subscribed, try as much as possible to do so right now. I love you deeply. Thank you. So now you minus your shoulder and then you measure your shoulder to nipple. I'm going to be using a very easy term so that it will be very easy for you to understand. Your shoulder to your nipple point, then your shoulder to your under bust, and your shoulder to your half length, and then your shoulder to your top length. Just the way you see me place the tape rule. I minus 5 inches because I don't want it to be too off, so it depends on how you're off you want it. Shoulder to the nipple point, shoulder to my under bust, my shoulder to my half length, that is the waist line, and then shoulder to my top length, and then you draw a straight line like so. Shoulder to nipple point, shoulder to on the bust, shoulder to half length, and shoulder to the top length. Now the next thing to do is to measure your nipple to nipple. Just like I said earlier, I'm going to be using simple term so that it's very easy for you to understand. Now I'm going to measure nipple to nipple. So nipple to nipple of my clients, I think is 4. So I used 4 inches. So I measured 4 inches from all of the points, and I drew a straight line just like so. Now this is very easy, so just put your mind to it, you get it. So the next thing to do is to minus 1 inch from both sides of the straight line that I drew, just like so. From the from my top length, my waist line, my half length, that's my half length, my under bust, I'm going to minus 1 inch from both sides of the straight line that I drew. I'm still going to minus it from this side. This is just for accuracy's sake. I'm not going to be using it eventually from the that is on the bust point, but I need it mostly at the under bust and then the waistline and the top length. So I minus 1 inch from both sides. Don't forget shoulder to under bust, shoulder to nipple point, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waist half length, and then shoulder to the top length. So now let's go right into it. Let's draw a straight line just like so. This is very easy, trust me. Just believe you can do it, and definitely you can. It's actually a very easy process. So you draw a straight line just like so. This is what's going to bring out that coffee and copy is English. That's breast part. This is what's going to bring out the coffiness and all like that. So after bringing out 1 inch from both sides, I'm going to measure from my nipple point to my under bust. I got 3 inches from my own, depends on what your client's measurement is. So from my nipple point to my under bust, I got 3 inches. So I'm going to mark it round the circumference. I'm going to form a circumference just like so, from that point round, and then take your French curve and draw it from where you marked. Now I want you to know, and then see, I'm sorry, my camera skipped that part. You just have to curve it to that front part, and then you minus, just like we minus 5 inches the other side, the other time. Depends on how low you want the front part to be, and then you can you just measure ½ inch from that front part and curve it just like so. Now I'm going to measure my shoulder. That's 8. I used 8 inches, and then my armhole, just so I can make a perfect curve. Now you notice that our breast is usually bigger towards the armpit side than it is in the middle. Like we have a bigger the way our body is formed. The breast is usually bigger at the side part than the front, and that is why I decide what part of this draft will be bigger than the upper part of the draft. So this is actually very easy and straightforward, so don't worry, just trust the process. So just the way I minus 1 inch from the other side, I'm going to 1 inch from this upper part also. So I minus 1 inch just like so, and then I'm going to take my French cuff from the place where I minused the 1 inch from the straight line. I'm going to cuff it in like that. So one of the things you do is you try as much as possible to make sure that the cuff is actually very cuffy, and it's not very sharp. It's not bringing a sharp edge, because you don't want to have a funny cup after sewing. So you try as much as possible to use your French cuff wisely at this point. So right from the point, just the way you see me doing the video, from that point that we minus, just you bring out the cuff just like so. So I notice it's bringing out a pointed edge, and that's why I'm trying as much as possible to make sure I cuff it in to bring out the cuffiness. Now what you would do, I'm so sorry, I noticed my camera didn't capture that very well, so this actually depends on how low you want the upper part, the front part to be. So you just cuff it in like so. Depends on how low you want it. If you don't want it so low, you can actually make sure that yours isn't that low. So now, just like I said earlier, that the side of our bust that is close to the armpit is always bigger than the side that is in the middle, and that is why we are going to try this possible to make sure that our circle is reaching the armpit, that is the armhole, the straight line that I measured earlier. I'll try as much as possible to make sure that my other side of the circle is reaching the armhole side, just like so. So now I actually measured the armhole already before, but I didn't draw a straight line earlier. That is why I'm trying as much as possible to draw a straight line. And then for we're using French cuff to bring out the cuff for the armhole. I don't really like the way this French cuff actually brought that out. I'm still going to trace it afterwards. But don't forget that I actually minused 5 inches from my shoulder, and that is why my armhole is that small. So just like I said earlier, we are going to make the part that is close to the armhole bigger, and that is why the cuff is going to be increased towards the armhole side, just like so. It is actually very important that you make use of your French cuff. It makes the work very easy and neat, and then it makes you to achieve the perfect circular cut and look. So I'm cuffing out the other part of my circumference just like so, and then I'm tracing it down back at the upper part to my armhole. So this upper part actually depends on how low you want your corset to be. If you don't want to be too low, you try as much as possible to make sure that it is not as low as mine. So this is what we have afterwards. Now what's next is to try as much as possible to measure your bust, the bust of the person you're sewing for, and then the waist of the person, the under bust measurement of the person. You know how we go about this. You divide it by 4, and then you add your seam allowance to it. So I've measured this bust and I've measured this under bust. I added seam allowance to it. Most times I added 2.5. Most times I add 2 inches allowance, and sometimes 2.5. Now for the waist, this is actually a very easy technique to go about your measurement. You see the way I just moved the tape rule to the 2 inches I measured at front. I move it to the other line, to the last line, and then I measured my hip, my waist, and my bust. So I'm going to be joining the lines together. just the way you see me do in the camera. This is very easy, guys. You just have to put your mind to it. It's actually very easy. Now, most times when I shape my blouse, I don't like it to have a sharp edge. So I try to maybe minus 1 inch from the side of the top to at least have a curve side. It depends on how sharp you want it. You can make it 3 inches or for this tutorial I'm still going to it's still going to be a back swaist after all, but I just want to, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to use 1 inch and cut it out like so. Now this middle part we're not going to be using it. Let's just mark out the side we're not using, so that we'll not make the mistake of cutting it out and disposing the useful one and leaving the useless one behind. So I'll try to specifically to make sure there's a difference between the one I'm not using and the one I'll be using, the pattern I'll be using. So I'm not going to use this side also. I'm going to cut it out. Now it's time to, so those are the two default sides. Now it's good to differentiate between this front and the back and the side word part of your corset, because it's actually very easy for you to mix up later. So that's why it's actually good for you to differentiate between the two. So it's time to cut it just the way you see me do. So basically you need 4 major parts of the corset, which is those two upper parts and then the front and the side. Now for the sake of this tutorial, I actually made use of I didn't fold my paper into two. You can fold yours, make sure you fold yours into two when you're going to cut it, but I use a calendar actually to make it very thick and easy to use, and that is why I make use of that. Now look at the fabric. I make sure to cut out the fabric with the pattern I drafted, and I make sure to add like ½ inch allowance to all of the sides. Just look at that. You see that I folded my fabric into two while I cut the front part, the front piece, and I added ½ inch to all sides. The downward part I added more than ½ inch because I want the top to be long, and I'm still going to later fit it into the actual measurement of the person. Now so all of the sides, you make sure that you have at seam allowance. So I'm going to join one into it to this at the end of the day, join the cup, and then I'm going to drop another tutorial to show you how it all went. Okay, so you see the front part, you see how it's folded into two, and then you see, so this is actually the two sides. This also is also two piece, the two sides of the breast and the other one also. So these are basically the things you'll be needing on the front part. Thank you so much for taking our time to watch this video to the end. If you've not subscribed, please try as much as possible to do so right now. And if there's anything you want me to teach on next time, please try as much as possible to drop it in the comment section. Thank you. See you in my next video. Bye.